Will, coming to you with our midweek devotion. This one's centered around Pentecost, and so I'm going to read a little bit of Acts 2. Suddenly, a sound from heaven, like the howling of a fierce wind, filled the entire house where they were sitting. That's Acts 2, verse 2. Middle school aged youth are my favorite age group to work with. I probably would be a middle school social studies teacher if I weren't a pastor. I know I'm crazy on more than one level. Middle schoolers can be problematic, smelly, loud, fiercely independent, and sometimes insubordinate. And I'm not talking about me as a middle schooler at all. But it's in middle school in that time that you see the most growth in people, at least for my money, bodily, intellectually, and spiritually. It's in middle school that you do the hard work of figuring out what your identity is, who you are, and who God is calling you to be. I caught a glimpse of this back when I was a youth minister while at school in Texas. One summer, I took the kids, and they hate to be called kids, on a short-term mission trip to Austin, Texas. We were housed right next to the UT campus, and it was a well-thought-out, organized, and faithful trip. But that didn't matter to the middle schoolers. They cared more about having fun and seeing if anyone was cute from the other churches that came too. There was a kid I worked with who really didn't want to do the work. We were there to learn about food insecurity and homelessness in Austin and help try and help those partners who were working to alleviate it. He was there, though, to have a good time or because his mom made him. Can't remember, maybe both. Sometimes I literally had to drag him to do work. While we were at a food pantry or a soup kitchen one day, it looked more like a restaurant, but he actively worked to not do anything. He dragged his feet, making those screeching noises that are akin to nails on chalkboard. He complained loudly enough for clients and guests at the worksite to hear and give him looks. And eventually I found him hiding in the refrigerator. They had one of those walk-in refrigerators. I got this close to just throwing in the towel and sending him to the van. But then something happened. He started working, actively helping serve the food, actively talking with the people in the food pantry, actively cleaning up. He even volunteered to pray before we left. I never asked him what changed within him, what was the catalyst for this changed behavior. Maybe I should have. But either way, I have a feeling it had something to do with the Holy Spirit. On Pentecost, that day when the Holy Spirit came, the Spirit filled the entire house where the disciples were hunkered down. The Spirit filled the house, gave them the ability to speak in different languages, and then pushed them out to share God's news about Jesus with people that were gathered in Jerusalem, telling them the good news in ways that those people could understand. The Holy Spirit singes the disciples with fire, blows open the windows and doors, and pushes them out into the world. They are prepared and empowered, but they are still sent out to do something they had never done before. The disciples, now apostles, were hillbillies from over yonder, not learned types schooled in rhetoric. But the Spirit shoved them into it anyway. This is not the comforting Spirit we often want, but the discomforting one, the one that pushes us as people of faith and as a church into uncomfortable situations. For that youth, he was thrust into a situation where he was not comfortable, and he showed it, dragging his feet, complaining, hiding. He was having to serve people he had never met before in a community he knew nothing about, far away from his comfort zone of the small town of Azle, Texas, in the big city of Austin. The Spirit put him in a difficult situation, at least for him, and his reaction was to resist for a while. But eventually, something happened, and he leaned into what the Spirit was doing, and he flourished. He saw the good work that was happening and wanted to get in on the action too. Grace and mercy were being made real, and he wanted to get and give some of that too. Sometimes we just have to lean in to what the Spirit is doing. Even as a church, sometimes we have to have the eyes to see where God's Spirit is blowing and get on board. It's either that or risk being burned with fire, blown over, and shoved out. I don't know about you, but I would rather just lean in. Thanks for joining me for this week's Midweek Devotion. Please like and share it with someone who you think needs to hear it, and you're invited to join us for worship on Sunday morning. But if not, our blessing is the same as always.